Encouraging polygamy is a way of destabilizing the economy. That is, the more people there are, the more funds are needed to sustain these people. We currently do not have the funds to sustain ourselves as is.
Polygamy was never about the man deciding what to do. If I have to share this with one person, imagine if I can do that with 5 people.
I don't think it's even physically possible
What?
for you to share. To me, I don't think you can love 5 people equally.
Monogamy is a Western concept being used to control the population.
Oh yeah. Okay. You wanna go first?
No, you go first. You feel very excited. So if women are being encouraged to be in polygamous situation, me as wife number, or the only wife, I'm coming now and I'm being like, oh, my husband, Skopa buyer. Let's look for a wealthy husband number 2 to cater for our. You see how crazy it looks when I switch the flip. Yeah.
Wait. So I become who?
You become husband number 1.
As who?
You become husband number.
What will my role be?
No, you see how crazy.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Raul. I'm Raul Chapp, but by the industry name, I go by Mr. Chapp. And on this particular episode, I would go by Bearded OG, clearly. Because of the beard.
Fair enough.
And I'm a creative entrepreneur.
Okay. Yeah. Nice to meet you. My name is Taniah. My friends call me T. That's how I introduce myself everywhere because I'd like us to be friends, so you can call me T. Corporate, I do, my 9 to 5 is I'm a digital marketer, stroke social media manager, stroke customer service executive. So that's what I do, corporate world. I'm a creative as well, especially when it comes to podcasting and anything film. I'm very interested in that as well. Yes, so that's what I do part-time. And for this episode, I'm arguing monogamy.
Ooh, I'm arguing for polygamy. Strong.
Great.
Yeah.
Only men can be polygamous.
Only men can be polygamous. Well, the statement, when you look at polygamy in general, the idea of polygamy came from a way that the system could provide for more women in the society, if you look at it traditionally. Mm-hmm. So let me start off first by saying the argument that I'm bringing today for this discussion is based solely from a traditional point of view, because there's no other way that I would want to look at polygamy, because right now, during this time, polygamy may not work for the purpose it was meant to bring out, right? So if I go back into the traditional setup and the things that polygamy was meant to bring about, polygamy was not about looking down on women. Mm-hmm. Polygamy was about creating an environment on an ecosystem that could be inclusive or include all women in terms of, for example, if you look at instances where widows were involved in the society, if no one married them after their husbands had died, they would live in situations that would be wanting, poverty and whatnot. People, actually, in some context or some society long ago, widowers were looked down upon like they are misfortune in society, So when polygamy came into play, such kind of situations where women were left out of the equation in society would be brought back into play, in that they can be provided for food, security, shelter, and all these things. Because when we go back into the traditional African setup, it was a man's responsibility, or it was a man's world to do all these provisions, So I'd say, if that statement, only polygamy only works for men, in a way, it's not correct, because if we are looking at it from a sexualizing point of view, if we're looking at it from a dehumanizing point of view, yes, it would work for men, because polygamy is basically one man and several women, not the other way around. That's what polyamory. Polyamory, yeah. Or what's polyandry?
I don't know what
there's something.
We
Anyway,
check like that.
But you see, the statement is about men having a lot of women. But if you're only looking at it from a sexual point of view, if you're looking at it from, I have the money, I can have everyone, no, that was not it from a traditional point of view.
Okay, so the prompt is only men can be polygamous, right?
Yes.
So for me, the reality is only men are polygamous because that is what is acceptable in society, right? Even when you look at it about African traditional society, men were the ones who are allowed to have many wives, even in different cultures up to today. Even in Islamic culture, a husband can have many wives, but not the other way around, where a wife can have many husbands. If anything, that is taboo. And even in society, leave alone even marriage-wise, even a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a man has many concubines or like many girlfriends, or like you can host a couple of females. But if it's the other way around, it's looked at under a different lens. So the reality of the situation is, yes, men are the ones who can be polygamous, but it's a sad truth, because women can also do whatever they want. Anyone can be whatever they want to be. But the reality of the situation is men are the ones who are polygamous. And something you said about, initially it wasn't meant to look down on women, but also it was meant to kind of give the man some sort of title in the community or some type of prestige and ego. Because even if you have, the more wives you have, the more wealthy you are or the more respectable you are in community. This is according to African traditional community, right? If a man has one wife, you're like the bottom of the barrel. But if you have many wives, you're like, oh, okay, kuna heshima kwako, you get. So for me, it's not, even though it's not specifically looking down to the women, it's also targeted to like project the man's ego or like esteem and prestige in the community as well. Yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
Maybe just to circle back on that, I'd say if we go the natural order of things, right? Look at the animal kingdom, for instance. When a female species sexually interacts with several male species, when the offspring come, look for example, cats, dogs, and the likes, you'll find that the puppies have different whatevers.
Yeah, features.
It's the same thing if that comes to the human beings. If a woman has sexual relations with several men at the same time, I don't know if you know this, or maybe it would answer another question down the line, but when a man and a woman have sex, and the man ejaculates inside the woman, there's some features, DNA-wise, that the woman picks from the sperm. Whether she gets fertile or not, these features from the DNA, they will attach on the uterus of the woman. So by the time she gets pregnant, it could be a different person. These features from the previous encounters, they bring or they form part of the child that will come out of this fertilization. Okay. If it's the same person or a different person.
So wait, let me get this right. So if initially you had sexual interaction with person A, right? Yeah. Then you didn't get pregnant from person A. You can get pregnant by person B with features of person A.
Features of person A will still pop on this.
That's very interesting. I have to do my research on that.
Please do. Don't
I won't take your word for it.
Don't take my word for it. Yeah. Do your research, So some of these things, again, I take it back to the traditional knowledge that these people had. My only problem with our way of passing down knowledge, one, it was oral. Yeah? We were just giving information through word of mouth, nothing documented. And it was always in form of parables. They could not tell you why. But I know for a fact that when our forefathers would say women cannot have that many sexual partners, probably that was one of the things that they were trying to pass, the message that they were trying to pass across, but they were not doing it. So do your research, and if I'm good, we'll post it here. If I'm not, we'll also include it in
the factual.
Yeah.
Being polygamous shows that you lack self-control.
Would you like to go first on that?
Check that.
Okay. For me, self-control is a choice. Let's start by saying that. So if you lack self-control because that's the reason for you to be in a polygamous marriage, that's a you problem, to be honest. It has nothing to do with the type of marriage that you're in. Because even monogamous people, there are some who lack self-control. And doesn't mean that they're necessarily in a polygamous marriage. You can be monogamous and you're cheating. What does that say for you? So for me, the lack of self-control is more of a personal thing than it is the definition of whatever type of marriage that you're in. You could be polygamous, but you're committed to the type of people, the number of people that you're in the relationship with. Say a man has wife A, B, C. You're only committed to wife A, B, C. But you can be polygamous, committed to wife A, B, C, and having E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P on the side. So for me, self-control is a personal issue, either male or female. It's a personal issue. So the type of marriage that you're in doesn't really define if you lack self-control or not. Yeah.
Okay. I'd say being polygamous has nothing to do with, or it doesn't mean you lack self-control. In that, as I said earlier, it's a system that was created to bring about stability, one, in our society. And as you put it at some point there, you said the more women you have, the more wealthy, the more powerful you are considered or regarded in society. So it's from a structural point of how we would bring our families together, how we would stabilize our community. And to some degree, I look at polygamy as a way that people used to expand their territory and how far they can I wouldn't say sire, but how far they can what's the word? There's a word I'm looking for. It's more of influence. That I know I have family A somewhere, I have family B somewhere, and so from that traditional point of view, it was meant to stabilize the family, and it did not emanate from the fact that I am sexually active, so I'll go get wife number 2 or number 3 or number 4. It did not come from that. It's just that people came with this modernization and all these ideas that came from the West. They brought the ideas were to bring out polygamy as something that is not humane. So that's where now we bring in the ideas of lacking self-control and the likes. But for me, polygamy had nothing to do with the fact that you're getting another woman or another wife because you feel your sexual drive needs to be distributed equally among the society. It had nothing to do with that. So it like you said, self-control is a personal thing, and it doesn't matter how many women you have or how many sexual partners you have, as long as you lack the control. If you have one wife, 10 wives, the thing is you lack. So you will always end up getting it or getting into it with someone else out there because that's innate in you. It's not something you control.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the same breath as what I said earlier, I feel like the restriction of monogamy also kind of restricts, how can I put this? For example, if you're in a polygamous situation, you can lack a bit of self-control because you're like, oh, you can do something else. You can go have sexual relations with someone else with the intent of making them your wife, because you can, right? So you can go, you have wife number
That
one,
would be
number two.
cheating.
No, because at the end of the day, your intention is to make them your wife. What if you marry this person that you allegedly cheated with? Is that not allowed in polygamy?
I wouldn't call it. Now you see, now that's a route that probably came out of lack of.
Exactly, that's my point. Because the lacking, you can stretch the rules a bit. So because you're in a polygamous situation, because you're like, oh no, I'm dealing with this other person who's outside the wives that I have because I have the intent of marrying them. And because that's allowed, you've kind of found a loophole to the rules. Because in monogamy, you only have one wife. So anything you do outside your marriage is cheating. There's no what if, but if, it's cheating.
Yeah.
So in the polygamy, you can find a loophole. You can find a loophole to like, okay, let me do this because I can. And that happens. That happens.
I wouldn't look at it that way, because you see, again, marriage is about discipline. It doesn't matter whether you have 10, 15, 40 or whatever. Look at Solo. That guy had what? 700?
So many wives. Jesus.
You see, but it doesn't mean you're loose. It's just that, again, it's a system that was put in to look at, to sort out societal issues. It didn't emanate from the fact that I can get here, I can get it here.
But people are using it to do so.
Then that's the wrong way of looking at it. If that's something, it's not what I'm defending right now. It's not. That's
no. You have to defend it because when you're defending it, you're defending the good and the bad
plus the bad. Yes. I know, but you see, I don't look at it from that point of view, because that would make me not be the right person to be in a married situation, be it monogamous or be it polygamous. If I'm a cheater,
you're a cheater.
If you cheat in a polygamous situation, you are a serial cheater.
Something you said about, real quick before we wrap it up, something you said about it was not initially brought about to explore sexually because you feel like, oh, you're not satisfied by this. But we can agree that people are using it to explore, because you'll be like, oh, I'm in a situation where polygamy is allowed and I can explore with different people sexually with the intent of marrying them and making them your wives. And you can do that as many times as you want. That's the wrong side. That's the bad side we were talking about of polygamy, but it's also like something people are doing and calling it polygamy.
Well, yeah, that's the other way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I could agree with that. Yeah, sure.
A monogamous marriage is the truest form of love and commitment.
Monogamous marriage is the truest form of love and commitment. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I look at it this way. If I'm able to satisfy one person, right? And my wife number one, is okay with me getting another wife. And I get another wife. That's the wife number 2 or number 3, whatever. Because what I believe is polygamy was never about the man deciding what to do. One, from a traditional point of view, if I wanted to bring in a second or third or whatever number of wife that is I'm at, I would go to my wife and
consult.
Yes, bring up this case that, okay, so there's this and this happening. Probably she's, let's assume I just have one wife, yeah? And whatever is happening, the household chores or the responsibilities within the homestead are too many. So I would bring this up. Say I'm a very wealthy man and I have this business here and there. I have some land to be attended to. I don't have that many kids, or maybe the kids are still little and stuff like that. Yeah. So I would raise this with my wife and say, okay, I'm looking at this situation and I see you are not doing well alone. So I'm looking for a helper for you to help you with running this and running that. So I would say the commitment and the love aspect comes from me coming to you to share this issue that I'm finding it's taking a toll on you. And I would bring it up. The problem that I have with polygamy that every person, whenever we hear the term polygamy, we just see a man with so many wives, a man who is not in control of his sexual energy, yes, or urges, but it's not entirely pegged on sex, because a lot of people, even women, look at it from that point of sexual interactions with so many. And I get it, because like I mentioned earlier, if there's sexual interaction between one person and then there's that energy exchange and whatnot, yeah. But the truth is, if it's a consensus that you've agreed, we are bringing in wife number 2 or wife number 3, this is what we are coming, or she's coming in to do 1, 2, 3. I think that's a show of love and commitment.
Okay, interesting. So for me, I would say, to answer that prompt as it is, monogamy is the truest form of love and commitment. I would say yes, because it's very different for you to have a commitment and share deeply your entire self with a variety of people. There's always going, even in a polygamous marriage, there's always like that first wife has some type of she's
rank.
Yes, she's rank number 1 compared to the others that follow, or maybe the one that you've opened up to the most or shared, been most vulnerable with, or like the person who has supported you through difficult times is the person who you rank higher regardless of how many wives that you have. So in monogamy, you have this one person who's going to be there through the good, through the bad, that you made a commitment to, that she's going to have your children, that you're going to share sexual experiences with. So for me, that is the truest form of love and commitment, because you're choosing that one person. Despite how many other people that they are, obviously, if you're married, you've chosen that one person. Doesn't mean you've never, had interest in any other person, or never are going to have interest in any other person in the future. But you have chosen to make this commitment to this person.
Yeah.
So that level of trust and loyalty should have a rank being like the truest form of love and commitment, which is monogamy. Because polygamy, as you're saying, even if we want to sugarcoat it and say that it's not only the sexual aspect of it, the sexual aspect is also pretty big, because what you are trying to explain, an example where a wife has so many duties and you want to help her, why don't we hire someone like a cleaner, or like hire someone to come, a house manager, hire somebody who is professionally coming to help me with the tools, doesn't have to be in the same bed with you as well.
One of the heavy duties, responsibilities, of course, sex comes in.
Yeah, and you didn't mention that. See how you conveniently left that out?
No, I said it's not only about sex, because that's the thing that always comes to mind first. When you hear, I have 2 wives, you look at me like, Kadinya. You get? Because that's the message that has been propagated over and over and over, which I get. But the aspect of commitment that I'm talking about, the way you've described, that if I have to share this with one person, imagine if I can do that with 5 people.
I don't think it's even physically possible
for
you to share. To me, I don't think you can love 5 people equally.
No, never.
Honestly, even the way...
You can't.
Let me tell you, even the way parents say, oh, I don't have a favorite child, they have a favorite child. Like, there is a favorite child. It's impossible. To me, it's impossible to love everybody equally. You can love your children, but maybe you love this one more because they were the last one, or like maybe the first one because they're ilikuwa kifungua mimba or something. So it's hard to measure love and say like, oh, I love you 25% wife number 1, 25% wife number 2. It's impossible. In the psychology of someone, you're going to love someone more. And why can't it be the one person that you've chosen to be with in a monogamous marriage?
If we go the love direction, I think there's a different way.
And that's the prompt, love and commitment.
Men understand love differently from how women understand it. See, definitely. So the way you say there's no way you can love 5 people equally, true, that's a fact. There's no way I can love you, wife number 1, the same way I love number 2. But now as a man, how we usually compartmentalize all this is, there's something I see in you that's very powerful. Probably you're a good people person. You know how to speak to people. Number 2, her strength is maybe she's a better cook among the rest. So you see, men, we have these prompts on our own that if you do something for me, I equate that to love, to respect. Because if we go biblical, it's men who are commanded to love women. Women are not commanded to love them.
Yeah.
Instead, they're supposed to respect. Now, when you show a man respect, he converts that as
Love.
So for me to love 5 of them differently, but not equally, it's very possible. The equality aspect, the way you give it 25% to here, no, that's not possible.
Yeah.
But there's something that we look out for that you give me, she doesn't give me, and the others, and so among the people that I have.
Let me just say one thing to rebuttal that. It's funny how you've said that, but when you look at day-to-day society, we've seen stories even on the internet about a lady who has, there's a guy who gives me money. There's a guy who is very emotional and intellectual, and we can have a stimulating conversation.
Yeah.
There's a man who is adventurous. So I can have these different people, these different boyfriends to do things for me, which I can equate to love as well.
Yeah.
But it's not seen as something normal the way you've explained how whatever compartmentalizing the love towards women is. So that's not normal for women to have, which is crazy to me because you can never find everything that you want in one person. You just choose you choose the struggle.
Yes.
You're like, okay, Sawa, you're rich, but you're not emotionally intelligent. Am I willing to compromise that for, you just choose. But for men, it's like, oh, you can choose. You have to have everything, even if it means having 5 people who are going to give you each and everything that this other person doesn't have. Patriarchy.
It's wild. It's wild.
The real victims of polygamy aren't the spouses, they're the children.
The real victims,
And not the spouse.
not the spouses.
Let me take that first. To some extent, I think both are victims, the spouses and the children. When it comes to the children, maybe if you're in a culture where polygamy is not normalized, because we have cultures even in Kenya where polygamy is normalized. So even the kids growing up to them, it's normal. There's mom number 1, mom number 2. Yeah. It's not a taboo, or it's not a weird situation to them. So that's just basically how life is. In other cultures, polygamy is not something that is encouraged, but some people have chosen to take that route. And even the children growing up, it's like, this is so, why do I have 5 other siblings not from the same mom? And now it becomes a victim problem on the children because they can't comprehend why their parents are doing this, right? The other thing I'd say is the spouses can be victims because look at it, I'm going to put it in a female perspective, right? We're looking at polygamy where a man has multiple wives. Wife number 1 could be she's barren and can't have children. So they come to a consensus where the guy should get wife number 2 for the purpose of getting children. Obviously, wife number 1 is going to feel some type of way about it. Even though you're not going to express it, you're going to feel some type of way because you're going to see your husband getting children and loving the children, which is something you can physically not provide to your husband. So you become a victim in that sense. So for me, it's the spouses can be victims, the children can be victims. But to me, I would say that the spouses can be more victims than the children, depending on where the polygamous marriage is happening, according to culture. Yeah.
All right. I'd look at it. I'd look at it this way. I wouldn't say the kids are victims or the spouses tend to be the victims, but I want to look at it from an awareness point of view. See, if I'm from where I stand, I didn't come from a polygamous background, but my parents came from that, So the way I look at it, how it may not come out with the victimization, be it the kids or the spouses, especially the kids. For the spouses, I think I've explained that before I bring up or I bring in, now going with the traditional way, because not everyone also would come and ask. Some would just bring wife number 2 and tell you, aya, nimekuletea msaidizi, and you didn't.
Msaidizi is crazy.
To help with what? Na kila kitu iko sawa, But anyway, I'm looking at it from the structural, systemic way that everything is being explained, everything is being put in the open. you're my spouse. This is what I want to do because of ABC. Going with that example of if you're my wife and you can't bear children, the point of me starting a family is to expand my legacy and all that. So if it gets to a point where I know and you've confessed it's not possible, I would look for a helper, msaidizi sasa, in that way. So for you to, as my wife, to feel some type of way, yes, emotions have to come into play. I get that. But as the husband or as the head of that particular homestead, I should take that responsibility to make sure that you don't feel some type of way. Much as it's inevitable, you will. Some things, emotions, women, some things are just unexplained. They just happen. But I should take it upon myself as the husband to make sure that you don't feel indifferent because now I have wife number 2 or maybe wife number 3 giving me offsprings or heirs for my empire. You should understand the whole spectrum of why we are doing this. To the kids, I would want to believe that from the traditional setup, if it was a household, if we was having a party, for instance, and all the houses would bring in their food. So there's this way that people would come together, we eat together, bond as a family, so that kids from wife number 1 don't have to ask questions, why are we kids from different parents?
Yeah.
If the parents come together to explain what that system is and why it's why they are in it, or why the parents are in a polygamous situation, if they can explain that, I don't think there'll be any victimization from the kids.
You see, now, when I look at it now from the point I would like to argue, which is monogamy, in a monogamous situation, even in a situation where the wife can't have children, before we even go to the first conclusion being like, oh, I'll marry another wife so I can get children, you can opt for things like surrogacy, IVF, adoption. So there is going to be so many options before we get to that point of like, oh, now you can get another wife to get children, you see? So also for monogamy, when it's one family and one unit, even the closeness to both parents that the children are going to have, compared to polygamy, right? If you have 3 wives, each wife has like 2 to 3 children, another one has 4 children, another one has 2 children. All these children are not going to have the same relationship with their dad. Even maybe someone who's like number 4 in the second marriage, where that person has no relationship with the father at all. Because it's such a wide spectrum. By the time I'm getting access to you as my dad, we're not going to have that relationship as much as when it's a monogamous situation. Even if there are 10 children, they know they're from one dad and one mom, and they have that closeness together under one family unit. So that's where I would see where the children would become victims in a polygamous situation compared to a monogamous situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Monogamy is a Western concept being used to control the population.
Oh yeah. Okay. You want to go first?
No, you go first. You feel very excited. So let me give it to you first.
Okay. So if we are to go like deep about it, even in the recent past, look, the likes of Bill Gates and his foundation, the agenda has always been to depopularize Africa. Polygamy is something that is practiced largely in Africa. The essence of polygamy, as I've said before, is to expand the family, the legacy, and all this stability. And if I'm expanding the family, it means more children. If I have 10 wives and each has 3 kids minimum, let's say, we don't count children
in Africa.
Yeah, so that's 30 kids. That's expansion, as opposed to if I have 1 wife and 3 kids, or maybe 1 wife, 10 kids. I mean, one with more kids, that sounds very traumatic. Anyway, but look at it this way. If you have many wives, many kids, you expand easily and you get to achieve that legacy dream and whatnot that you want. So if we bring the modernization aspect of depopulation, yes, it's a way to control how fast or how quick we can populate the world without telling people not to populate the world. So I agree that yes, it's one of the ways to counter the African system of raising society or communities.
Okay, I see your point of view, but I'd like to bring the fact that it's not only African traditions that are being forced into monogamy so that to depopularize, because even in Asian countries, there are rules, actual laws that are being set where one child or not having children is encouraged because the population is so large. It's not something they're being forced into by someone else. They've seen the current state of affairs, where the economy is and how the land is, and putting everything into consideration, you guys having less children is for the better. So before we handle the situation of housing, funds, economy, before we drive it up, let's just have one child. So that is going to encourage monogamy, yes? And it's also going to encourage a lot of other things like, contraception, and the likes. That's a whole other conversation. Coming back to Africa, right? I see why it will be phrased as a method of depopulation, because these people really don't want us to be like a large number. The less we are, the better. Let's just say it as it is. That is unsaid, or rather said. So I see that point of view. And I would agree that monogamy is a way that they're trying to control the population of Africans, but it's also a self-decision that you have to make as well. If you want to be committed to one person, regardless of what anyone else will tell you or feed you information about, you're going to be committed to one person.
Sure.
If you're open-minded to be polygamous, regardless of it being a trend of monogamy that is going around, you're going to do whatever you want to do, as long as you have consent from your partner. As you said, you're bringing the issue up in the marriage, and you're going to be like, oh, let's have another wife for this and this reasons. Or you as a man are just going to be like, oh, I want to have another wife, and that's what is going to go. So I see the aspect of it being a depopulation effect, but also I see why it cannot be, because you're still going to do what you want to do at the end of the day, regardless.
Well, I would just to add on to what you've said, I'd say the idea of polygamy, discipline was something that was very, very discipline is something that is considered highly before you can even be introduced into the whole idea of polygamy. So for one to be a cheat, you are just a cheat. It doesn't matter how many wives you have. You will always look outside there. But from the onset of it is, if you're looking at it from a financial point of view, an economic point of view, even right now, polygamy, I wouldn't encourage polygamy right now, because the economy,
the state of affairs,
and the state of affairs don't support that. But going back from a traditional point of view, not everyone was allowed to be polygamous, because you must have supporting documents. One, you are someone who is respectable in the community. You're someone who is wealthy, or maybe not wealthy per se, but you can afford that stability financially or economically. So you would be allowed to have one or,
more
two
than
or
one.
more, But it wasn't just I want, I feel like I want, I need. No, it was something that was societal. The society had to agree whether you are bringing someone in or not. So it wasn't that personal liking or whatever. Then you just wake up one day and decide, I want to bring in someone else. No, everyone in the community had to be involved in this decision making.
Yeah.
Because remember, when you're going to get a wife from a different community, you will have representatives to go and ask for the girl's hand in marriage. So it was something that was inclusive and not just a solo
endeavor.
It wasn't just something you would come up with and say, okay, I want. No.
When you look at the way you're portraying it, polygamy is a very it's a structural way. It's systematic. There's phases that you have to go through. You just don't wake up one day and say, I want wife number 2.
Yeah.
But that is the traditional aspect of it.
Yeah.
In modern day society, people who are in polygamous situations, like not the traditional polygamous situation, but in situations where, you had a kid with someone, there we stay wife.
Yeah.
That's wife number one. Because also in traditional African society, once you give a child to someone, that is technically your wife.
Actually, once you have sex,
that is technically your wife. So you have that as wife number one. In today's society, right? Then, that's baby mama. Now the term has been switched. Not wife number one, your baby mama. Now you look for, another person that you want to have a romantic relationship with. Now this is the main character, right? We have the baby mama, first wife. We have now the main character, second wife. Then we have the
side chick.
Like a side chick. So to me, this is also polygamous because this man is not choosing to be committed in one situation or one
I
relationship.
believe it should be given a different title and not polygamy.
Yeah, it should be. It should be given a different situation because this man is technically a cheater, but he's kind of putting it under a blanket of like, I'm a man and I can have more than one person. Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Polygamy is not sustainable in this economy.
It's not sustainable. Like, it's not. We are barely sustaining ourselves as individuals. I'm barely sustaining myself as an individual. What do you mean? What do you mean try and sustain multiple wives with multiple children? Unless you as an individual are very wealthy, like via your own wealth or family wealth or something like that, you as an individual choose to do that. But generally, the economy can't even afford to bring up this many people in society, right? So the same way we were saying, monogamy has been encouraged to depopulate the people, also help stabilize the economy. So encouraging polygamy is a way of destabilizing the economy. That is, the more people there are, the more funds are needed to sustain these people. We currently do not have the funds to sustain ourselves as is. So we are not looking to ongeza the population more because we won't be able to sustain it.
Yeah.
So that's just simple facts.
True. I'd like, on this one, I'm not countering it, but again, like I've said, polygamy was a system. And that system could not just happen to each and everyone as we pleased.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that people looked out for, because if you're proposing in a different village, they would have to go check.
Mm-hmm.
Is this guy able to sustain this? You are going to be number 5. Okay, how has he been behaving, or how has he been handling the previous marriages? Number 1, 2, 3, 4. How is he with his wives and whatnot? So if we look at it from a stability point of view, economic point of view, no. At this current time,
No.
you need 3 jobs to sustain one relationship.
And one child.
3. So you can imagine you have 5 of them, you will need times 5. That's 15 jobos. Utatoa wapi?
Yeah.
Forget the fact that you cannot do 15 gigs at once to support. No. Zinatoka wapi? Let's say you are able to get those jobos and whatnot. Yeah, how will you do it?
Yeah.
So technically, from an economic point of view, at this time and
It's
age,
difficult.
It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, and people are still doing it. So for me, this is where it becomes even unfair. And you remember the point of us looking for the victims to the children. Now, this is a point where the children do become victims because they're not sustained by the situation that their parents have decided to be in. Because now this man is having a hard time catering for wife number one and children from wife number 1 and children from wife number 2 and wife number 2 herself. So by the time you're sustaining all these children and all these wives and all these households, you're exhausted and drained as the man who's the provider of the family. So in this situation, the children become victims that they didn't want to become victims, but they're not.
As the man,
You become a victim, but now you see you're the one who chose that life.
No. Again, you see, what I'm saying is, when you don't understand what you're doing, you get yourself there. Because at this time in life, no. Unless you're the uhunye.
And this is where you end up neglecting people. Now it becomes a whole other issue because now wife number 1 or baby mama number 1 has been neglected. School fees is not being paid. House rent is not being paid. Or like the sustainabilities for this family to live in current day society is not being met. So yeah, it's a whole issue. So for me, it is encouraging the destabilization of society, of economy sizing. So yeah, it's a problem.
I'd agree with that. The economy at the moment, nope. it's not possible to do anything polygamous.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. If you get into it, then you're digging your own grave. And again, as we said, polygamy, it comes from a man's point of view for me to bring it up, raise it up. So I'm coming to you. What helper or what help am I coming to
get
or to advise on? I can't provide. So why?
Now you see, if it was a situation where also women are encouraged to like be in polygamous situations, you'd be like, I'm coming out to my husband. Hey, tuko pabaya. We are not doing well.
That's why
let's look for husband number 2. No. Listen to my. This is a hypothetical situation. So if women are being encouraged to be in polygamous situation, me as wife number, or the only wife, I'm coming now and I'm being like, oh, my husband, tuko pabaya. Let's look for a wealthy husband number 2 to cater for our. You see how crazy it looks when I switch the flip. Yeah.
Wait. So I become who?
You become husband number 1.
As who?
You become husband number.
What will my role be?
No, you see how damn double standards.
No. That's messed up because
you're not surviving. You're not. My bad. You're not sustaining as a family. So I'm coming to you.
How does even that conversation begin?
Yeah, you're not making enough money, and we are having these children who need to be taken care of. There's house rent to pay. There are things that we need to do. Let's look for husband number 2 who's, a lawyer somewhere.
If a man comes in to provide in your household, you stop being the husband.
Now you see, that's the same thing. Oh, if a wife is not here to cater for your needs or like to, bear your children and also be the loving and comforting partner that she was initially meant to be, why is wife number 2 coming in?
Again, going back to what I said, the system, like it's a structure that was created to bring about one order, to bring about stability. So let's first go from one man, one woman. How that relationship works.
And it's not working. It's
no.
not stable.
Let's first bring that up. There's a woman, there's a man, this is a family. Okay, husband, wife. It's for someone to bring about the fact that, again, we go with the natural order and blah, 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 yeah? So if where will this man go?
But he'll stay there. Anyway, is wife number 1 going in a situation where it's many wives? They're still there. Yeah.
And who do I become?
Look at how crazy that is. You can't even process that information.
It doesn't add up. Because looking at it from, again, natural order of things, like I mentioned, the reason why in the animal kingdom you would find a pride of lions and whatnot, it could be a pride of, let's say, 5 lionesses and 2 lions, right? Male, 2 females, 5 of them. In this pride, on that one, out of the 2, there's one who will be in charge of the entire household. As much as there's this guy hanging around, he doesn't partake in the household affairs. Household affairs, 1, provision. 2, of course, sex. I am avoiding to say sex because that's...
Don't avoid it.
No. Wait, I'm avoiding to bring sex as mention it because that's automatic.
Even provision is automatic. Let's just say them.
So we bring...
Yeah, let's just list them. Let's not try and assume.
All right, so provision, sex, and all these things that a man would do to his woman. So look at it from that animal kingdom perspective.
Yeah.
These 2 lions cannot and will not provide for this family in terms of food, in terms of conjugal, I don't know what they call it in the animal world. But what this man or this second lion does to the pride is protection, give strength where enemies come in and whatnot. So unless me as the husband in this situation, I allow it, I don't see the role that this...
Yeah, you will obviously allow it.
What will the guy come to do?
You were talking about nature in the animal kingdom.
Yes.
In the animal kingdom, there's also seahorses where the male seahorses get pregnant. You see how that is also like It doesn't seem. It doesn't
horses,
seem.
they impregnate. They can actually.
Yeah, the males carry the offspring, right?
Yeah.
And coming back now to like the human beings,
Yeah.
that's gonna be like an argument in the same way you're saying in this situation where it's 5 lionesses and 1 lion, and the 1 lion is supposed to be the provider. What's in a situation where the lion is old and can't provide?
Actually, did you know that lions don't hunt?
No, we're talking about now. The lions are hypothetical. I feel like we're going into a lot of discovery.
Animal kingdom. no. But
the lions are hypothetical. Let's just say that.
But I get what you mean. But even when we look at it that way, if I can't provide, I would not let another man to come and provide.
Why not? So we'd rather suffer than let someone else come and help us out.
That's how actually what happens is the woman goes out of the house. But it will never be another man coming to my homestead to... How?
Let me get this straight. Wait a minute. You want to tell me now, in a situation where you're married, right, and you can't provide certain needs, be it sexual, be it financial, be it security and stability, you can't provide, you'd rather your wife cheat on you without you knowing than her bring up the conversation of bringing another man to help you out?
Both situations, no.
What in the double standards are this?
No. Look at it this way. There's no way I would allow my woman to cheat, knowingly, unknowingly, so that she can provide. Because now that puts me in a situation where I'll have to rethink, like, what is this relationship? So, but that's cheating part out of the picture. Bringing in another man to help with my whatever roles I'm supposed to play, as a man, it doesn't sit... I don't know how best to explain it, but it doesn't sit well with me knowing that someone else is providing for me. Not for my family, for me. It doesn't at all. I don't know how to put it, but it doesn't sit well.
Okay. I'm giving you the biggest side eye, but...
You can... We see you.
If I had a daughter, I would not want her to be in a polygamous marriage.
Can I go first?
Yes. Okay, go.
Okay. Now, I hope all through this entire argument, my reasoning is well understood, because I'm basing all these things from how the system worked in the olden days. Okay. So if I should be in a similar situation where the man is really in a position, stable position, because everything, I was talking to the producers earlier, and I said marriage is a business contract. You know? Whether we like it or not, marriage is a business. And if I'm getting into a business that does not have money that can sustain it within a given period of time, I wouldn't want that, you know. So to bring it back into reality, would I allow or would I be okay with my daughter getting into a polygamous marriage situation? I would be okay if the guy can provide, because I mean, at the essence of it all, the fundamental is be in a position to provide stability, financially, protection in terms of my daughter is secure, there's nothing, no harm, whatever, you know, like you said, this aspect of wife number 1 or number 2, jealousy and whatnot coming up, it could be a situation where my daughter would be in insecure position. So if I know my daughter is secure in that relationship, if the guy can provide, and this is now the most important part, if my daughter is okay with it, I would be okay with it.
Okay. First of all, I want to mention how funny it is that the question or the prompt is the daughter. It's not the daughter or the son. Because we've already, as a society, we've seen that maybe the woman is the victim in a polygamous situation. Let's just accept that, because even from the prompt, we can see that. So for me, I would selfishly not want my daughter to be in a polygamous situation. And my reasons are, first of all, I would like my daughter to be loved and cared for and show her vulnerability to one person and the partner do the same to them. So they're in a vulnerable situation together. They can be open with each other, be it in financial issues, be it in like emotional issues, spiritual issues, they can be open to one another. So it's not that I'm being open to you, but you're being open to me slightly because you have to be open to wife number 2 half. You get, I want my daughter to have all of the person and in return receive all of the person, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is, if my daughter is in, you can argue the point that what if the man is not able to sustain, or what if my daughter is not able to give children to the husband, and that would prompt a polygamous situation. I'll tell my daughter, leave and find someone who actually wants to be with you for who you are. Because at the end of the day, there's that feeling of being less than. You're going to feel less than or like not enough for this man to want someone else. For someone who is happily monogamous, you're like, my wife is giving me everything that I need, and whatever she's not giving me, we can work on that. We can talk towards issues that I'm not comfortable with or situations that I'm not okay with, and we can work and build this situation or this marriage together monogamous or monogamally, whatever the English is. Yeah, so I myself would not want to be in a polygamous situation. So there's no way I would not want to be in a polygamous situation, then want my daughter to be in a polygamous situation as well. So both of us, monogamy.
Makes sense. Though, my take home from this entire discussion, I think probably we need to revisit, educate one another. It's just the awareness of how polygamy came about or why it was being practiced, because there's so much that polygamy can do to a society. And of course, the counter or the flip side, which is not favorable in terms of relations, whatever. But I feel it's just creating awareness so that people know what they're getting into. And it's not just, because I think and I feel the only thing that people see or they hear, whatever polygamy is mentioned, sex. I am free to have sex. And if you translate it that way, when malaya tu.
But I feel like if you think about it very logically, you can see why polygamy is not a bad thing and why it would help society. It would help a lot of people in the community when you look at it purely logically. But as human beings, we are emotional beings. So there's the emotional part. No, even as men, don't try and flip it and say women look at me being emotional, then try to. But even men are emotional creatures. Human beings are emotional creatures. Now, whether you show it or not, that's a different thing, right? But polygamy emotionally takes a toll on someone, or someone is going to be a victim. Be it the spouse, the husband who is going to be drained financially or mentally, even because you have wife number 1 calling, wife number 2 calling,
Crazy.
Thinking about it even, I'm like, oh my God, it's a lot of nagging or it's a lot of pressure. The wife being a victim as well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to get into that again. Okay. Even the children being victims. So emotionally, there is definitely going to be someone or some people who are going to miss out, or they're going to be emotionally scarred from this polygamy situation, which a monogamous situation may lessen that burden. Yeah, so that's why I stand by my monogamy debate side.
Fair enough. That's why it's two sides. Sorry.